Hello everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus painting tutorial, and today we are painting Screamers of Tzeentch. Yes, look at them. They're really cool. I really like them. I really like the models. I think they're really awesome, and well, I've got a funny feeling they're going to be very competitive. I don't know for sure though, don't quote me on that. Here's hoping. Anyway, without further ado, we're going to jump in and start painting them. They've been primed in Grey Seer, and well, we're going to be painting all three of these. Now there's not a lot of unique details on any of them, but apart from their bodies, but the first step is the same thing. So the colour we're going to be making is a roughly 2 parts Ultramarines Blue to 1 part Talassar Blue mix, and we're just going to load our brush up here. I'm using a big old brush here, a monster brush from Army Painter, and this is just for the sake of speed. And we're just going to start getting this paint all over our Screamers. Now, we want to go all over all of the flesh, over the top of the horns, but we kind of want to try and avoid the really big ones at the front, which, for the purposes of this video, I'm probably going to refer to them as tusks quite often, because there's kind of 2 different types of horn on these models. We've got all of the ones going across the body, but we've also got the ones at the front. So we just want to avoid those big ones. Those are going to be a different colour, but the rest of it kind of all sits in the same sort of colour palette. So we just want to go across all of our Screamers like this, top side and back and underside, and really make sure that you work it into all of those recesses. Because they're nice organic textures, contrast paint does a lot of the work for you here. But do just make sure you're being methodical still, that you're hitting everywhere you can. Try and avoid any large dark pools, and then once that's done, we'll come back. So with that done, you should have some Screamers that look somewhat like this. They're looking pretty good. It's a really nice blue. However, we are now going to colour in the rest of the base coats, and then we'll do all of the highlights at the end. Now, the colour we're going to be using next is Black Templar, and it is a little bit different across all 3 of our miniatures. So firstly, we're going to start from right to left with this guy. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the Black Templar, and we're going to start painting in all the little hairs and spines along each of the edges, as well as some of the slightly smaller sort of horns and tusks and things. Now, we are going to be coming up onto the Screamer itself, like so. And this is important. So what we're going to do here, particularly around these kind of like little pimples and things, so we're just going to, colour them in. Like this, quite roughly. Like that. Then we're going to wash the brush, and then just around to them with a clean brush. We're just going to mop up the line to kind of just smooth out the transition just a little bit. Like that, and just kind of widen out the black ever so slightly. And what we're also going to do, we're going to paint in this kind of central reservation. It's not a car. So we've got all these little pimples down here. And again, we're just doing this quite widely, like so. And then we wash the brush. And then we're just going to smooth out the transitions. Like that. So we're just going to quickly do it on the other side as well. Like so. I'm just going to do this edge. Like that. Wash the brush. I'm just going to once again just quickly smooth it out. Like that. Actually just missed a tiny little bit. Just there. Just pick that up. Like that. And we are going to just then do the same thing up the tail on this, with these kind of studdy things here, the hair on the side and the large horns on the back of the tail. And then we're going to do the underside as well. On this guy, with the scales, what we're going to do is going to take the black Templar, we're just going to start applying it over the top of all the scales and all the horns. And again, if you should make a little mistake, or you want to, you can just use a clean brush once again to just mop up any excess. Black Templar that you don't want on there. So you're just going to pick those up there, and we're just going to fill in that middle bit. Like so, and then once again on the spines and on the tail and on the underside. Whereas on this guy, he's the easiest of the three. We're just going to take some black Templar and we're just going to do those little hairs and any remaining horns on the tail, the underside and the middle. So with that done, what we're now going to do is going to add a little bit of extra colour into our Screamers. And this is going to be a kind of sort of purplish blend on the wings, or whatever they are. I don't know the right terminology. We're also going to be doing this along the tails. Now, as I say, it is a blend. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start from, this time, from left to right. So we're going to start with this guy, just here. Now the colour we're going to be using is Magos Purple. What we want to do is basically just want to load up our brush with contrast paint, and then we just want to kind of start from down here and pull it up and then lift it off. So we're going to start down here and we're just going to start painting this Magos Purple all over our wing. We want quite a lot here, so don't be shy with the Magos Purple. I'm going to bring it up to where those kind of horns are in the middle. Like that. I'm happy with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wash the brush. And then I'm just going to, with a clean brush, just lift it off from the middle here. So it just blends out and smooths out that transition just a little bit. Like so. Do the same thing on the tail, around about halfway. Around about there. Get it all over. Wash the brush. Smooth it out. I'm just going to do this side as well. Nice and quick. Wash the brush. Smooth it out. Lift off that little bit of excess just there. Don't want that much on the tip. On the underside, I'm just going to do the whole of the underside, basically. We are still going to smooth it out a little bit. Starting towards the middle and then pulling it out. Wash the brush and then smooth out the middle. Kind of like that. Similarly, on this guy, just here, I'm going to take that Magos Purple on our brush, start from the tip of the tail, bring it on, grab a little bit more, slap it on to around about halfway in the scales, like so. Wash the brush. Then we're pretty much only going to need to just smooth it out towards the base of the wing there. Whereas on these tentacles here, I'm going to do it along the tips there and along the tail as well. Just like that. I'm going to do it on the underside of this guy as well. And then similarly, lastly but not leastly, on this guy just here, we're going to get this Magos Purple all the way up to where that black begins, like that. Nice and simple. Because it should just blend straight into the black, because we've already done a little bit of blending on those bit of blacks areas. Like so. So with that done, our Screamers are looking pretty cool, as you can see. So what we're going to do now is just going to move on to the next bit, which is to do all the horns, well, tusks. And the colour we're going to be using first for this is Skeleton Horde. Just want to load up some Skeleton Horde on our brush and just paint this all over these tusks. Just like this. Just whilst we're waiting for those tusks to dry, we're just going to take a little bit of Shyish Purple. I'm going to use this to paint in any of the tongues that you may or may not have. Depends on your build choices. Just like that. Still waiting for those tusks to dry. What we're going to do is we're going to take some Yriel Yellow and we're going to use this to paint in all of the eyeballs. Now, there are a lot. So what we're going to do is just going to very carefully and very steadily take this an eyeball at a time. We're just going to take small amounts of Yriel Yellow on our brush. We're just going to paint this over the top. Just like this. Now it might take a couple of goes over because you want to do this with very little paint on your brush so you get lots of accuracy. So don't worry if it does take you a couple of passes. You just want to get it on there. And where possible, just avoid that recess as well. Just creates a little bit more shadow for the eyeball itself. So with that done, you should have some screamers now that look somewhat like this. Now we are going to do the pupils in just a moment, but the skeleton horde is now finally dry on all of our tusks, so we're just going to do that bit next. Now the colour we're going to be using first, well, next, is Wyldwood. This is one of those things where you have to move fast, but don't worry, I'll explain. So what we're going to do is we're going to load up our brush with Wyldwood, like this, quite a lot on there. And we're just going to paint it all over, and then we're going to wick off the end. So we're going to make sure we start at the base and then just make sure we get a good coat of it over the top. Then we wash the brush and we just take off the tip. Wash the brush once more. And just take off the tip. Like so. And then we're just going to do the same thing on the underside. Like that. Wash the brush. And then just take off the tip. Actually just missed a little bit there. It's alright, we can pick that up like that. So you just want to go around like this across all of the tusks. So with that done, your screamers should be looking somewhat like this. So what we're going to do now is we're going to highlight those tusks. I'm just going to pop these two to one side just for the moment. And the colour we're going to be using is Screaming Skull. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a small amount of this on the tip of our brush and we're going to very carefully draw some angled lines going along the horns. So we're going to start around here. We're just going to start drawing a nice straight thin line coming along till we reach the tip, like that. Then what we do, just take a little bit more on the brush and then we just replicate that same thing next to it. like so. And then we just keep doing that. All the way along. Each of our tusks, like this. And we just want to go, as I say, all the way around and across all of them, just like that. Now on the slightly smaller one, like this one for example, the process is fundamentally the same. However, we do have some nice ridges on which to guide us. So we've got this one on the inside track just here, like that. Then we've got another one just up here. And we've got this kind of one here. Like so. But those are far too spaced out for our taste. So what we're going to do is we're then just in the middle between these little areas just here, we're going to add another one. Like that. Then same again on the other side. Like that. Now if you do make any mistakes or it is a bit wobbly for you, you can correct it, and I'll show you how to do this in just a minute. But suffice to say, this is effectively the technique. So we're going to do this across all of our tusks. So with that done, you should have some screamers that now look like this. Now the horns look pretty awesome. However, I promised that we would show you how to fix some mistakes. So we're going to do just that. Now it's actually quite simple. What we're going to do is we're just going to use a tiny little bit of Wyldwood, and this is just to patch up any of the little kind of whoopsie daisies in the dark areas, because that's the ones that are going to show up. So we just take that Wyldwood, just very gently, very carefully, just paint it over any of the areas that we just want to straighten out, just like that. Nice and simple. This is just for the darker areas because it blends out into a screaming skull. Skeleton Horde, I should say. The Screaming Skull is fine up there, even if it is a bit wobbly. As you can see, it just kind of blends out nicely into the Skeleton Horde. There you go, just a little bit of Wyldwood, just to help fix it, just a little bit. So for example, again on this guy here, just a little bit in there, and a little bit in there. If you mess this stage up, you of course can just go back to Screaming Skull and just correct the little line. So with that now done, it's time to take some black Templar, and we're going to paint in the pupils on all of our eyes. And we just want to effectively try and get a nice little oval slit going down the middle of each of them. And don't worry if it's like a little kind of thin. Once again, over the Yriel Yellow, just go back over it until you get a nice strong black, just like that. But just take your time here. So with that now done, our Screamers are very, very, very nearly there. Just got a couple more highlights left to do, and the first one is going to be some Fenrisian Grey, and this is going to be a dry brush. And what we want to do is we just want to take our dry brush. I'm using a medium dry here. Just want to very gently run this back and forth over the top of the model. Now the best way to avoid getting this on the eyes is to dry brush it from this direction that I'm going in. So you'll catch the eyelids, but you won't get the actual eyeballs itself. If you go back the other way, you will get the eyeballs. But this way you'll be fine. As you can see, it's just very gently lifting up all those details. On the wings. Just like that. And of course, we want to do the underside as well. So with that dry brush applied, we've just got one more highlight left to do. And well, it's quite a cool one. It does just elevate the model all that much more. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some Morghast Bone, and on the tip of all of these spines at the front of the models, we're just going to add a little dot of it. Like this, as if these are baby tusks waiting to fall out and become adult tusks. And so our Screamers of Tzeentch are now finished. They are really, really cool. I have been a fan of the Screamers of Tzeentch for a while. I'm a fan of the Flamers as well, all Tzeentch demons in fact. But this was really very, very simple to achieve, and I think it looks absolutely fantastic. This is true contrast plus painting at its finest. Yeah, they're really, really effective. I'm looking forward to getting them on the table and seeing if I'm right about how good they possibly can be. I'm probably not, but who knows? We'll find out. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you want to support me further like these legends and bosses on the screen before you, you can do so. Head to patreon.com/Warhipster or head to ko-fi.com/Warhipster. Alternatively, you can now become a YouTube channel member by heading to the channel page and clicking on the join button just here, just like these absolute bosses have done. And if you just want to shoot me a little thanks, just because you really love this video, you can click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.